Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hiking Rochester. And today we are going to be exploring Highland Park, or at least a section of Highland Park, because Highland Park stretches over a few blocks, and it's separated by different streets. And we'll be doing the Highland Bowl, Sunken Castle, um, ice skating pond area over here off of South Ave. It was a beautiful day, and you know what I'm going to do different on this video? I'm not going to play any music because the sounds of spring are so much better than background music. So I'm going to do a minimal amount of talking, and I'm not going to play any music. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. Um, but yeah, there are lots of beautiful bird sounds in this video, and like I said, it's just the sounds of spring. So a quick rundown of Highland Park. Highland Park is a planned arboretum designed by Frederick Law Olmsted. It began as a 20-acre donation from nurserymen George Ellwanger and Patrick Barry in 1888 and evolved into a beloved public park with a focus on natural beauty and diverse plant collections. And here's a quick timeline. In 1888, George Ellwanger and Patrick Barry donated 20 acres of their nursery land to the city for the public park system. The Rochester Parks Commission was created and hired Frederick Law Olmsted to design the park as an arboretum. 1892, horticulturist John Dunbar, later known as Johnny Lilac Seed, started the park's famous lilac collection. 1907, the Lamberton Conservatory was added to the park. 1911, I don't know why it says that twice, Anyways, 1951, sorry guys, the estate of Horatio Gates Warner was added to the park. 1963, the Children's Pavilion was destroyed. 2007, the Lamberton Conservatory was reconstructed, and today, the Highland Park features a variety of plant collections including lilacs, Japanese maples, magnolias, and rhododendrons, and is known for its scenic views and natural beauty. So yeah, that's a quick historic rundown, and today it's ran by the Highland Park Conservancy, and those are great people. They do amazing things. So now that we got that out the way, yeah, here, check out this awesome woodpecker. This guy was huge, and he was just going to town. And usually woodpeckers are pretty elusive, especially these big ones. I believe it's called a pleated woodpecker. They don't let you get close to them. So I was really surprised and just really wanted to take advantage. That's why this clip of him is so long, because I was like, this is awesome. You know, they don't even let you get anywhere close to them. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as they see you coming, you can be 100 yards away, but if they see you, they fly off even further. But this one, you'll see, not only did he let me get close, he or she, I don't know what it is, but you'll see later in the video, as I was on in another part of the park, he flew over to me and flew up in the tree that I was already looking at. So I was like, wow, this is cool.
Thank you.
Jackhammerhead. And this is a great place to come for sledding too in the winter. And great place for a picnic in the summer or spring. You see it's wide open. The stage is wide open. They do a lot of community events here and concerts and poetry readings and stuff. But really, you can just walk right up on the stage. I mean, nobody's going to mess with you for the most part. I haven't seen anybody tell anybody to get off the stage or something. You can have picnic on there, you know, just hang out. You can practice. Maybe, you know, if you're trying to get over your stage fright, for if you're a musician or whatever, you can go practice on that. But yeah, you know, if something's truly a public park and is for the use of the public, it should be wide open. You know, obviously, as long as nobody's damaging anything, all the obvious stuff that goes without saying, public parks should be wide open. Whether it's a public park that's ran by a conservancy or whether it's a public park that's ran by a city, it doesn't matter. If it's classified as a public park and for the free use of the public, it should be wide open. Otherwise, you know, there's something wrong. But yeah, it's a nice stage, and then you'll see, I'm gonna get a few shots of this tree. This huge red oak tree. This thing was massive. There's two of them right next to each other. You'll see I get a little closer. I was like, wow, look at that thing. Sun in the background, beautiful. And you'll see also they have tags on most of the bigger trees to let you know what kind they are. And I've been learning a lot about trees. And how to identify them, you know, for several reasons. It's just good to know for medicinal purposes, good to know for fire making purposes. And you know, here at By Your Side Outfitters, when we take our clients out into the wilderness, you know, it's always fun to teach you guys something like that, you know, because trees have so many uses. And it's just always good to know, you know, because we get out there deep in the wilderness, and you know, if we need a certain type of medicine or a certain type of material or something, you know, it's good to know what you're looking at, what you're dealing with. And man, if you can identify trees in the winter, in the season where they don't have leaves, they don't have fruits, they don't have buds, they don't have anything, you're solely identifying them based off of the bark and just the general structure, shape of the tree, man, that is a skill. And you'll recognize that sound as a cardinal. I never looked into what this meant. I'm not sure if that's for a person, like a tombstone or something. It looks like it. I mean, there's a last name with a beginning and an end date. So, I don't know. Maybe you guys can leave in the comments if you know the history behind what that is. There's so much history around Rochester, and you know, this park and Mount Hope Cemetery, you know, which is right down the street. So much history around this area. So yeah, you see, this is a red oak. And I want to say, I forgot already, one of the ways, when you see the leaves of oak trees, if it has pointed leaves, it's the same shape, but if the tips are pointed, it's red oak, and if the shapes are curved, it's white oak. And another way is with the bark. The bark will have a reddish layer between the wood and the bark, and the white oak will have a whitish color between the bark and the wood. And a lot of these trees I've never heard of, because they're not just like, oh, oak, hickory, this and that. Like, some of them are, they have some pretty unique, interesting trees here. And Rochester is really good for that in general. Check out my other video of Duran Eastman Park. That place has some amazing trees. And it's way bigger than Highland and more dense trees. This is, you know, Highland Park is generally an open area. Still beautiful nonetheless. But yeah, Rochester is blessed to have all these different trees. I don't know what this one is. I think it's a beech tree. Because beech trees usually have that smooth skin that kind of look like an elephant leg. Like a huge elephant leg. Mount Hope Cemetery has this, I believe it's a copper beech tree. It's absolutely massive. Massive. It is a beautiful, amazing tree with these roots coming out of the ground that you can like sit on. It's amazing. Check it out. There he goes. I knew he was up there. I was just trying to wait for him to come around the branch. Yep, see? Woody the woodpecker. Coming to visit me. He missed me that quick. Alright. Walking on down around into this other stand of trees. Now these are really cool trees. These are the paper birch, right? Is that a paper? Oh, okay, paper bark maple. So it's not even a birch. It's a maple tree that has paper bark, kind of like birch trees, but you'll see not quite the same structure. This kind of has clumps of the papery bark, and it also has like smooth, harder portions, so it's not like a paper birch where you can cut off like a section of it. It'll be like a sheet of paper. This tree was pretty cool, the way it was sprawled out, and how the trunk goes straight to the ground. You know how some trees, they split a little further up. This one splits directly from the ground, which gives it kind of like a unique base. This is some very, very hard, sturdy wood. You see it's not that thick, but this stuff is like iron. So yeah, look at the base of that. And it's a good climbing tree too for kids. I just thought that base was so cool. And of course, the park has benches everywhere and strategically placed spots to give you a nice view. And here's another view of that massive red oak. I was just like, look at the crown on that. Starting to bud. Here you can get a better view of the paper bark maple and how it's not entirely covered by the paper part. It's also, has smooth parts. This is cool, these pine cones that collect in little clusters along branches. Not sure what kind of tree this is, what kind of evergreen tree this is. Like a cedar, I believe. And feel free to correct me. Please correct me in the comments on if I get any of these trees wrong, if I say anything wrong, please, because I'm learning and each one teach one. I know there's people out there that are a lot more knowledgeable than me, and I'm looking forward to hopefully finding a tour or some type of guide that can show me around local trees, so that way I can really start identifying, because that's the only way to identify plants, and especially going mushroom foraging, but plants and trees, is to really get out there with a person. You read the book, all the books you want, that's fine, but get out there with a person who has the hands-on experience. This tree is really cool. It has these little sprouts shooting vertically. I would like to come back and see what that looks like in, like 10 years. I thought this was really cool too, because it's almost like paper bark, but not quite. It had these long, skinny trunks with these very thin branches coming out of it. The bark on this tree was very interesting because, you know, here's an interesting thing about nature. Nature can appear to be chaos, but it's actually perfect order. And what we humans deem to be order is actually chaotic. Because it takes a whole lot of effort, a whole lot of thinking, whereas nature does it effortlessly and it's perfection. So, the pattern of this bark, while it appears to be chaotic, it is perfection. Now we're going over to the Sunken Garden, which is really a great place for picnics, a great place, a really good spot for photo shoots if you're somebody that's like shooting, you know, independent films and stuff like that. This is an amazing place for this if you want to be taken back into time, you know. They even got little dungeons. Look, it's like a little dungeon. And I look forward to coming back when everything is in full foliage in this area. I'm not sure if they plant something here or if it's just the bushes and the plants that are already there, or if every year the workers come and replant. I'm not sure, so I'll have to come find out. And when you come up here, you kind of get a Japanese, almost like bonsai type of vibe. And this evergreen bush slash tree, I'm not sure what it is. I just thought it was unique because it had these really thick, broad needles on it. Here's a great shot, great top shot. And I could say one thing about Rochester, and you know, the businessmen and women that were here that kind of built Rochester, so to speak. They actually did care about nature, and they did care about, they love the outdoors, you know. For this being a up north on the lake city, they definitely love getting outside, and they love their trees, and they love their gardens, and they loved the outdoors. And you'll find that same story all over Rochester, from the lake all the way down here to the Highland Park area. And that woodpecker actually was over to the left of me just there. I just didn't feel like going that way. And then you come over here and you make a right. Now we're starting to basically make a U-turn and loop back around towards where we started. And this is a hickory stand. They have several types of hickory. Little critter hole. These critter holes are all over this hump right here. There's this ridge, this small ridge, I guess you can call it. In this area, you can only imagine the tunnels that are running through this place. It's funny too, because they're out in the open too. They don't even try to like hide under a bush or nothing. They just make their holes out in the open. This tree was thick all the way up, like even the branches coming off. You can see like how thick they are. Didn't have a lot of branches, but the few that it had were very, very thick. Now we're coming back around to the point that we started at. And we're going to be going across the street over there. And you know, my other videos, or some of my videos, my hiking Rochester videos, I'll give a rating for the trail, you know, 1 to 5, 1 being the easiest, because, you know, part of our motto here is making the outdoors accessible to all. So I want to let you know that there are trails and places in Rochester that are suitable for all people, even if you're in a wheelchair, believe it or not. There's lots of places here that you can get out into nature. But on this park, I'm not really going to rate it. I mean, if I had to rate it, I would just say 1. It's the easiest because there's really nothing difficult about just strolling around Highland Park. Pecan tree. What I noticed about the pecan tree is the branches coming off the main trunk, they stretch out very far, and I'm like, wow, that must be some pretty pecan wood must be strong, because to combat against the leverage of that long, massive branch spanning out like that. Oh, and it's not a pecan tree without pecans, and it looks like the squirrels and critters, they've been snacking. So now we're on the other side of the street. And this side, the trees, as far as I noticed, aren't labeled, like with the little tags. And also to the left, coming up here, it's not as maintained, you know. So like if you're looking for, on this day I actually was on the lookout for tulip poplar. I ended up getting willow from a different park, but I was using the wood to make a bow drill, which is a method of friction fire, you know, basically rubbing two sticks together to create fire. So this is a good part of the park to find stuff like that. And here's a crow chilling on the lamppost, and I tried getting footage of all the birds I saw today because there was a huge variety. And he flew away. For those of you that don't know, they say Rochester has a crow problem. They've been spending, I don't know, probably millions of dollars. The city has on trying to get rid of them. And it doesn't work. And over here to the right, you can see the pond in the winter time that's used for ice skating. It got a lot of use this past winter. But yeah, I came over this way because check this out. Some white birch, which obviously stands out in this landscape. But you know, these white birch trees don't do too well in lower, warmer elevations like this. Like these were not healthy trees, and there's a couple of them, they were already falling down and rotten. And but yeah, you go up north, you know, in the Adirondacks or whatnot, you see massive. I know an exact spot in a very remote area. I know exactly how to get to it, exactly where it is. But this massive birch tree that I've been wanting to go back and see. I mean, this thing was so huge. You can see how they used to build canoes out of birch bark and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because the bark would be so thick and you can get sheets of it, you know, if you get big enough trees. But yeah, an amazing tree medicinally and fire making and lots of other uses. Here's a good shot of downtown, kinda. You can find all types of little goodies around here. There's a lot of different fungus like this and things that grow on trees that are also good for fire starting and good for carrying an ember for long distances. So if you had to, say you had to walk 10 miles and it was already a problem to start a fire, you just get a certain type of fungus, you put a little ember in it and it'll keep it glowing for hours, and you can just literally like put it in your backpack as long as it's got a little air. Now this thing, I was like, is this one tree with multiple trunks? Is this multiple types of trees with multiple trunks? Is it, what is it? Yeah. Another one of those good little hidden shots of downtown before the foliage arrives. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Hiking Rochester, Highland Park. This is Nick with By Your Side Outfitters, signing out.